What's up? Happy Thursday. Welcome on into Let's Bet It. Lauren Jabari here with Mark Zinno. And just because technology is such a bitch sometimes, one of our producers, not even internet, full power, went out in his before the show was supposed to start. So you know what? We're hitting the ground running today. Jack Harrison, thanks for taking some time on your day off to come on in and help us out here. Zinno, how the heck are you doing today? Happy Thursday, my friend.
I am doing well, fresh off another play of the day
Yeah.
cashing and a Nerfy out in Colorado hitting again. We are feeling quite well on this Thursday.
You absolutely love to see it. Okay, before we get into the show and some of the bets that we have, et cetera, I want to just talk about DeAndre Hopkins for a second and his suspension and the Cardinals right now. Their win total is set at 8.5. He's suspended at this point for violating the NFL's PED policy, performance-enhancing drug, and that comes 4 days after the Cardinals traded their first-round pick to the Ravens for wide receiver Marquise Brown. Did the Cardinals know before the
Yes.
draft? And how does this affect the over-under for their win total set right now at 8.5?
No, they absolutely knew. These things come way down the road ahead of time because there is
Yeah.
a process to appeal it. There's a process to go through that, from a litigation standpoint that has to be done. So the Cardinals are well aware of this. And maybe the impetus as to why they went down the road they did to go get Marquise Brown, along with the fact that Christian Kirk signed away this offseason with the Jacksonville Jaguars to a
Yeah.
monster deal that he probably didn't earn at this point in his career, but still the Jaguars had money to play with, and congratulations to Christian Kirk for getting that money. Good for him. I'm a very pro player in that sense. But for
Yeah.
DeAndre Hopkins and the Cardinals, this is about them being able to win without him, which I think that they can do. Even though they struggled last year offensively without him, they still were able to win some of those games. I think at the beginning of the year, when you're the healthiest, if you're sitting out the first 6 games, you hope to at least stay at 500 or better. If they do, I don't think that their 8.5 win prop is necessarily in jeopardy.
Yeah, no, totally. I completely agree with you on that. It is interesting, though, that Brown and Kyler were teammates in college. These teams know about these things before they're released. It is also interesting. I was looking at some of the numbers. So Kyler Murray's productivity declined last season when DeAndre Hopkins was not on the field. He had 25 fantasy points with him on the field, 19 without him. Do you think Marquise Brown could be that saving grace for those 6 games that he's going to be suspended? How does he bolster Kyler Murray's game?
If he's the saving grace, Kyler Murray is going to end up in hell. No, I don't think that he is going to be any sort of saving grace. I don't think Marquise Brown is all that good or all that dominant. He drops way too many passes. At least this is what we saw in Baltimore. Incredibly inconsistent and erratic performances. Sure, he had some bright spots, and he's a speedy receiver, and he can create separation down the field. But this is a guy that has problems holding on to the football and was an attitude problem in Baltimore. Now, will that translate when he gets to Arizona? Will he be more comfortable because he's with his old teammate Kyler Murray? Will they be on the same page more than he was with Lamar Jackson? Only time will give an answer to that. But right now, as we sit here, I wouldn't count Marquise Brown as the saving grace.
Marquise Brown, not the saving grace, maybe saving Private Ryan. I don't know. I was trying to think of
Something.
another
It's weird. I
one
was
that
thinking the same thing as soon as you said saving, but it didn't really work. So I let it go.
Yeah, we got a lot to get into today. NHL Ice Picks, obviously, a couple days into the NHL postseason, round 1 at this point. So that's going to be really, really interesting to see how things play out. Few games on the slate tonight. We're going to break them all down. We have Better Up, our MLB segment. We have our friend Howard Bender coming on the show to help us discern who's the best New York team. Is it the Yankees? Is it the Mets? We'll see what he thinks. Then we have NBA Morning Radar. No games on the slate tonight, but we are going to break down some of the Dallas Mavericks issues that they're having right now against the Suns, the 76ers taking on the Heat tomorrow. So we'll break down some of that stuff as well. But without further ado, Zeno, my man, let's get into it. Let's bet it. NHL. Okay, let's talk for a second about the showing that we saw at MSG a couple days ago. 3 overtime loss that the Rangers suffered in their first playoff game in 5 years. Are tired legs going to be a bigger concern for the Rangers or the Penguins? For me, tired legs for both teams. You're both playing a triple overtime game. It might be the Rangers mentally a little bit just because they scored that goal late in the game. It was taken back. They ran into him. It shouldn't have been a goal. I agree with the refs in that decision. But that's such a tough, hard-fought game for both teams in that game. Do you see tired legs being an issue for either team coming into game 2?
It's like you said, both teams are going to be tired. They essentially played 2 hockey games in one night. That's going to be exhausting
Yeah.
for both teams, the day off and to play again. Now, you give the edge in goaltending to the New York Rangers with Igor Shesterkin. Obviously, this is the likely Vezina Trophy winner and the best goalie in the NHL. But for the Rangers, this is about bouncing back. When you lose an emotional, long overtime game like they did, if you lose the next one, it's almost double as worse. Like it's 2 losses in a row, but it's just one of those huge momentum swings, especially since the Rangers have home ice advantage. If they lose this one and come out flat, then they're going to be in an 0-2 hole heading back to Pittsburgh in a place that's really tough to play against a very veteran-laden Stanley Cup champion caliber hockey club. And so this is a huge game for the Rangers. Their sense of urgency should be off the charts. I still expect it to be very low scoring because these are both 2 defensive-minded teams, but still, the legs will be an issue early on. Once they start skating, I think things will pick up in the second and third periods, and really the Rangers have to get a lead and play with a lead.
Yeah, we're both betting this game right now. I'll go over mine for a second. Rangers 3-way money line. I'm going back to the well because I had the 3-way money line last game at plus 120. Now I'm getting it plus 105. I have a good feeling about the Rangers in this one, even though it didn't hit last time. So you look at the Pens, they lost their goalie and one of their forwards during game 1. They're already without Tristan Jarry. Casey DeSmith left the game with a goalie, and their third string goalie, Louis Domingue, probably is going to be in between the pipes tonight. The Pens are 11th in scoring during the regular season, 5th in goals allowed. Rangers scored a late goal that was taken back. They want to bounce back, like you were saying. And they're 17th in the league offensively. So I do agree with you on the low-scoring game. Both of these teams are kind of middle of the pack when it comes to their offense. Second in the league in goals against, though. And Shesterkin made franchise history by making a record 79 saves in that game 1. 79 saves. That is freaking unbelievable. The Pens basically played as well as they could have in game 1. Now they're missing Ricard Raquel and DeSmith, and Tristan Jarry is still out. Shesterkin did everything he could in day 1. I think this game is going to end in a different result in game 2, and I think they're going to do it in regulation. So I like the Rangers 3-way money line in this spot. You're going back to the well with your first period overs and unders, yeah?
Yeah, and Shesterkin would tell you he should have saved 80, and that really would have been the difference because somebody was close to scoring at the end of that game. But this prop hit in game 1, as I said it would earlier in the week, under 1.5 goals in the first period. The New York Rangers, the second most unders in the first period in the NHL throughout the regular season. Penguins 5th in the NHL in first period unders throughout the regular season. You're talking about a top-flight goaltender in Shesterkin. A little bit of pause, as you mentioned, the goaltending injuries to Casey DeSmith and the changes there, but I don't think the Rangers offense has enough to put 2 in the back of the net in the first period alone, especially because they are coming off that triple overtime game. That will slow things down at the pace. It's going to take 7 to 10 minutes of this first period for guys to get their legs underneath them and really be able to get into a groove and shake off all that soreness. So I expect it to be low scoring in the first period. I expect it to be low scoring in the game, but I get a very modest price at minus 104. Give me the Rangers and Penguins first period under in game 2.
A team whose pace wasn't slowed down was the Colorado Avalanche, who covered the total of the game by themselves. Are we going to expect this kind of high-scoring affair from the Avs series? I say yes. Their depth is phenomenal. And also, their blue line depth is amazing. Like, Devon Toews scored the second goal of that game. And Cale Makar had a goal in that game as well. Like, you see the depth that they have, not just up top, but also, at the point. It's just incredible. The Colorado Avalanche are going to win the Stanley Cup this year. Do you see this kind of scoring continuing for the Avs?
Yeah, I don't know that the Preds have a way to slow them down. My only concern, again, would be the Avalanche defense being able to maintain this pace. There's a tendency when you play as fast as they do and you try to score as much as they do, mistakes can be made and they can be capitalized on. So it puts a lot of pressure in odd man rush situations on your defense and on your goaltender. But I don't think the Avalanche really have to worry about that. The Preds are a solid team, but I don't know if they have the level of scoring that can keep up with Colorado.
Totally. I'm actually on the over in this game. Avs Preds over 6.5. The Avs absolutely dominated in game 1, 7-2 at Ball Arena, one of the toughest places to play. I spent 3 years there covering that team. I actually had a little bit of FOMO watching that game. I'm like, oh, I miss that team. I miss that arena. I miss those fans. They came into the playoffs after couple tough losses to end the season, but the Avs right now are fully healthy. The Preds barely made the playoffs, and they need to make some big changes for game 2. They're missing UC Saros. They're going to be without him again for game 2. David Rittich allowed 5 goals and 13 shots to start the game. You saw him go down the tunnel after they pulled him, and he freaking smashed his stick in half. It was actually kind of fun to watch. Connor Ingram came in. He stopped 30 of 32 shots. It's going to be interesting to see who's going to start in goal again tonight for the Preds. I don't think it's going to make a difference because the Avs have unreal talent on both ends of the ice. Gabe is back from injury. Nathan McKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, and Kale McCarr, Nazem Kadri. Always problems for opposition. Now, Kale McCarr, Devon Taves provide a huge spark for the blue line. Colorado is going to roll in from a home crowd. You don't get really a bang for your buck betting the money line because you're laying a lot. I mean, I think they're minus 300, minus 350 right now as favorites. They covered the spread themselves last game. This is who they are. Now with how bad Nashville played, I don't think it matters who's in net. The Avs are going to roll. They're going to find the back of the net. Some of those goals that they scored were just absolutely nasty at that point. So the Avs are going to continue rolling. I think they're going to cover the total by themselves again tonight. One other bet that you're on another you're usually a first period over guy. We're leading to the
period
unders
over,
in the first period
under. Listen, it's just Zeno's period. It's the best period of the month. Trust me.
Zeno's period, the best bet of the day.
Right. We're going to go to Calgary and Dallas here. Another first period under. Dallas, 16-25 to the over this year on the road. That's second to last in the NHL, meaning they have the second most unders in the NHL on the road this year. Calgary, just 20-21 to the over at home. That's bottom third of the league. Defense will continue to be the premium in the NHL playoffs. So Dallas, I'm not worried about putting the puck in the back of the net. I'm more worried about Calgary, but we'll get through the first 20 minutes at a very modest price here at minus 108 of Dallas and Calgary under 1.5 goals in the first period.
4 games on the card tonight. I'm so excited to watch the Avs game. Can you tell them a homer a little bit or no? Not really.
Yeah, and I will say this much. This is the first hockey playoffs we've had in a really long time without Doc Emrick, and I already miss it. As I watched the 3 overtime game, I just all I could hear was Doc's voice on every shot on net and every big play and every big save, and I miss him already. You as a hockey fan can appreciate that.
Totally, absolutely. He was, the best. So you can't replace a guy like that.
No.
Let's get into some MLB, though, because there's quite a few games on the card tonight. We want to bring in our friend Howard Bender. He's the head of content for Fantasy Alarm, the host of the Ante Up podcast and Sirius XM. Howard!
What up?
Is he here? Can
Jabbar.
can you not see me?
There we go.
I've
said that.
We're going again, baby.
We're having super technology problems today is what we're having, but that's okay.
Hey, you know what?
Right. I'm okay with it. I actually, watching the beginning of the show here, and Big Z, great to finally get to do a show here with you. With Laura's hair up and you, I'm trying to push this do here for me, kind of up a little bit.
Good hair going.
Sort of like a drop dead Fred kind of look.
Honestly, mine's just because I haven't washed my couple. Not clean. But you know what? It still looks like this. No one would know unless I just said. How would they know? They wouldn't know.
So your hair stinks like your Avalanche pick, right?
Okay. All right. That's enough.
Wow.
That is enough of that, Howard. Jack, why are we having Howard on the show again? Can we get him out of here?
Coming out swinging.
I got Rangers at plus 1,600 to win the Cup. Shesterkin plus 3,000 to win the Conn Smythe. Come on, let's get it.
There you go.
Ooh, I like it, actually. I like it. Shesterkin is having a phenomenal season. It's incredible. Howard, I want to talk to you really quick about Kevin Gausman for a second. Speaking of futures and future bets that we have made. He's having a great start to the season so far. Do you think there's any value right now in taking him 10-1 to win the AL Cy Young at this point?
If you could still get him at 10-1, absolutely. I've seen him drop down to 7.5 to 1 now in a couple of places. Listen, I'm not a Kevin Gausman fan, so this actually kind of hurts my soul a little bit here because I thought that, going back from San Francisco to Toronto and pitching in that ballpark and facing the AL East again was going to be a downer for him. But listen, he's throwing that split finger fastball and he's doing it like 36% of the time. and everybody knows it's coming, and nobody can seem to hit it. I mean, his swinging strike rate is right now, it's over 21%. It's not going to stay like that for the rest of the way, but man, as long as he's throwing that pitch and he is on, I'm really worried that that's going to blow up my Lucas Giolito Cy Young pick. But yeah, I mean, if you can get it 10-1 right now for Gossman, I definitely would sprinkle something on that.
I backed him at Lucas Giolito as well as my Cy Young pick. So, but I was fortunate enough to interview or meet Kevin Gossman. I covered him when he first came up at LSU at Baltimore. I was working in that market at the time. He's a really bright, young, conscientious young man. I'm actually glad to see him doing well. I'm glad to see a lot of guys get out of Baltimore and do well, like Dylan Bundy and the Minnesota Twins, as they start to really pour it on here. You know, their offense looks so sluggish in the first week plus of the season, and they're really starting to score runs now, really putting the White Sox, you know, in a little bit of a hole, who are the heavy favorite to win the AL Central. Can Minnesota keep this up long term?
I don't necessarily know if they can keep it up long term. I mean, listen, I like what they're doing, right? They're going to get Alex Kirilloff back. That's going to be a nice little boost to the lineup. Max Kepler day to day. You know, there's a lot going on here. I don't love the pitching staff. I mean, God, Chris Archer is going to be on the mound tonight, so you know, I want to take the over in that Baltimore Minnesota game just for today. Come on, Spencer Watkins. No.
Hey, Watkins has got a 2.55 ERA on the year there, Howard.
Who?
Spencer Watkins is a 2.55 ERA on the year. He hasn't pitched poorly.
Z, the sun shines on a dog's butt at least once in his life. So come on, man. Come on.
But I tell you what, that's what I need today, because I'm actually, just to interrupt you, I'm actually taking the first inning no runs scored in this game between Chris Archer and Spencer Watkins. Now, Watkins has given up a first inning run in all 4 of his starts this year. So I'm going to fade it with a 2.55 ERA, mind you. So he's given up a first inning run and hasn't given up anything else the rest of the game. It's kind of nuts, though. I'm just going to fade him and hope that he gets through 1 inning today. Baltimore won't score against Archer. I can get out of the first inning with an easy win here.
Let the trend be your friend, Z. Come on. Byron Buxton is absolutely on fire. He's gonna lead off with like a solo home run. It's gonna shoot your bet in the foot, and then it's gonna just do nothing but boost me the rest of the way here. But I mean, listen, as far as Minnesota goes, I mean, they're plus 150 to win the division. If the White Sox can't get healthy, and I mean, come on, right? I mean, you've lost Lance Lynn, right? He's been down and out. Eloy Jimenez gone. Luis Robert has been in and out of the lineup on a regular basis. They're just, you know, they're getting pounded by injuries at such an alarming rate that it's elevating the rest of that division, right? We saw the Guardians start off real hot. They've faded. Minnesota's got a solid team. Polanco could heat up. I think really the linchpin here is obviously Byron Buxton. You can get away with mid-level pitching in the NL Central because we still have the imbalanced schedule. But if Byron Buxton, I'm sorry, did I say if Byron Buxton gets hurt? I mean, when Byron Buxton gets hurt, we're going to end up seeing, you know, the Twins for really what they are. And I just don't necessarily know if they can keep this pace up, you know, throughout the entire season. If the White Sox can't get healthy, well, then, yeah, I think the Twins have a good shot to win the division. I worry in the second half.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how things play out. Okay, so I know you have no opinion on this whatsoever, but in your unbiased opinion, which New York team, Howard Bender, is the best New York team?
This is just a line of questioning just to hurt me, isn't it? Really? I mean, this is upsetting.
I mean, you did kind of crap on my Avs pick, so you know I got to make it a little tough for you too.
Z, did nobody tell you that you need to protect me from Laura? Like she's just wants to crush me here. But all right.
Yeah, well, she's a woman. She's good at crushing souls.
My specialty.
Here's the thing. As it sits right now, the Yankees are the better team. I think they have a more solid lineup through and through, 1 through 9. I do. They have much better defense, right? You've got these guys rotating around the infield right now in Torres and LeMahieu and Donaldson, and these guys are all good, solid defenders. So the defense is good. The pitching right now, I would say, is probably maybe you give the Mets a slight edge here because you're going to have like Scherzer, Cole kind of cancel each other out. So I'm going to give the edge to the Yankees right now based on what we're seeing. If DeGrom comes back and DeGrom is healthy, all bets are off. Like Steve Cohen will go out and get himself another bat if he needs it. But to sit there and look and see DeGrom, Scherzer, and how do you not love what Chris Bassett is doing right now?
Yeah.
I would have to give the edge to the Mets just on the overall pitching there. But that really just hinges on DeGrom's health.
Mm-hmm.
And that all said, don't worry about it.
Totally.
The Yankees are losing the first round of the playoffs anyway, so it don't matter.
I'm sorry, what? What?
I've seen this story for about 4 years in a row now, so I know how it ends.
Oh, 4 years. I mean, let's increase the sample size here. Shall we just go back and talk about how many championships we've got now? I mean, really? Do you have to turn me into that Yankee fan?
I am that Yankee fan. I'm just saying I'm the Yankee fan right now that looks at reality in the mirror and says that Boone should have been gone and still should have cashed me.
He was ready.
There you go. I got plenty of those too. I just, I'm in the South. I kind of have to keep that on the down low.
Yeah.
Safety first.
Howard, you were talking about the pitching rotation for the Mets. At this point, what pitchers prop should we keep our eyes on? The books might be undervaluing certain pitchers, might be bolstering others. What for you, like how do you kind of narrow down your pitching props day to day?
I mean, pitching props day to day, it all just depends on matchup, right? I love, jumping in on the strikeout props, and I love, watching them, overvalue certain pitchers who might have gotten off to a hot start. But I mean, if I'm looking at strikeout props right now, I'm looking at guys like Zach Wheeler, Robbie Ray, Walker Buehler, Sandy Alcantara. How about Logan Webb tonight against the Cardinals? These are guys whose strikeout rates overall right now are down in comparison to what they've done for their careers. I expect them all to kind of uptick a little bit. So while the books keep their strikeout props a little bit lower and more in line of what their K per nine might be, I'm kind of digging on those guys there and maybe jumping in and hitting those guys as well. I'm looking at walk props for the young guys. Hunter Green's on the mound tonight. Matt Brash, if he doesn't get sent down by the Mariners, these are kids who have great heat, but are struggling at times with their command. So their walk props are something that I'm going to take a look at as well and jump on that. And if you want real dirty and undervalued pitcher just by the books right now, Austin Gomber of the Colorado Rockies. I'm going to need a shower after this for just even recommending a Rockies pitcher, but I mean, 3 straight quality starts. Granted, 2 of them were on the road. One of them, the home start, was against the Nationals last night. But he's on the road in San Francisco next week. Then he comes back home and faces the Giants again. You leave him alone there. But then he's on the road in Pittsburgh the week after that. So 2 of his next 3 starts, I'm going to start looking at the over on Gomber's strikeout props because I think that this is a kid who, when he's not pitching at home, loves to pound the strike zone and loves to show off both that curve and that changeup of his.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One of the newest, most trendy bets, I would say, is the Nerfies and the Yerfies. No rush inning. And yes, I do on the show every day, the Yerfie and Nerfie segment. I know, Zeno, you just gave out one of your Nerfies. Yesterday, Nerfies were 9-6, and they're now 185 and 186. If you bet all Nerfies for every game, just straight up Nerfies, you're down 37.98 units. If you bet all Yerfies, you're still down 24.86 units. So this is one of those bets that you kind of have to look and do some research on it. And some of these are super heavily juiced. At this point, Howard, are you betting Yerfies and Nerfies, or how do you kind of go about this newest trendy bet that everyone's doing this season?
No, I don't, because it's a new thing, and here's the thing is that you don't have the extensive data to sit there and look back on certain things. So new trendy bets, I don't need that in my life. Tell me on the best bets that I'm threw down over at Fantasy Alarm that I'm going to be bringing to Pickswise, I believe, at some point soon. But I mean, coming into last night, I'm 25-9 on my best bets, and that's just
Let's
run line,
go.
money line, over under. Right, I've thrown 2 prop bets into the mix there. One I hit, one I didn't. But you know what? Just give me straight up run line, money line, and over unders. And when you're talking about any slate that's 8, 10 games, you can find 2, 3 really strong best bets with not a lot of juice. Like, I'm not sitting here, rushing out to parlay things or plus odds or whatever. What I'm looking to do right now here in the early part of the season, while we see what this deadened baseball looks like, while we're dealing with the cold months, I'm just building my bankroll on these straight up bets, and it's working like a charm.
Yeah, Zeno, you have a couple straight up bets today too, totals and strikeout prop. Tell us a little bit more about who you have tonight or today.
All right. Well, I will give you another. I will give you another nerfy later on in the show, but I'm fading you here, Howard, based off the starting pitchers in Minnesota and Baltimore. I like the under tonight. Archer has got a very respectable, what is he? I think his ERA is just over 3. But as I mentioned, Spencer Watkins, a 2.55 ERA. Baltimore is not a high-scoring team. Cleveland's come back down to earth a little bit as far as their offense is concerned. And Cleveland just played a doubleheader yesterday. So I don't know how fresh they're going to be for the game today. So I'm going to take the under there. Conversely, I like the Miami Marlins today on the money line at plus 105. Yes. They are taking on there you go. They are taking on the San Diego Padres. Now, here's an interesting thing. The Padres played the Guardians in that doubleheader yesterday, which the second game finished around 9 o'clock. Miami was in a day game yesterday, which they won and was able to fly out to California, and they're the more rested team. And it's strange to me that San Diego is one of the highest scoring teams in Major League Baseball, is not laying a heavier number against the Miami team right here. And I've seen the number move already. I saw it today in one site where they were both minus 108 on the money line, which follows my thinking here that Miami is the right side. Now, the Marlins 3 weeks ago, guys, were averaging just 2.8 runs per game. They are now averaging over 4 runs per game. Their offense is starting to come around right at the right time. This is a weak spot for the San Diego Padres. I'm going to take the Marlins on the money line at plus 105. Got them last night. And I cannot resist. And when I tell you I cannot resist a Jose Urquidy under K-prop at plus money, it is just something I want to play every single time. It's at 5.5. It's not even at 4.5. It's at 5.5. He finally got over that number in his last start, but I'm still getting plus money at plus 110. Urquidy is not a strikeout pitcher. He does not last deep into games. He's not going to get to 6 here. Give me under 5.5 at plus 110. Giddy up.
I love that. I love that. Both those bets. I absolutely love them. Right? How do you go against Luzardo? You can't go against Luzardo right now with the way he's pitching. You really cannot. So I love that Marlins bet. And Urquidy, that's just the guy. He just pitches to too much contact at times, right? So, again, you look at these strikeout props. You look at these guys who have low swinging strike rates. Maybe they got a high ground ball rate, and I have no problem victimizing him with that. I did that with Dakota Hudson the other day. I'm like, the guy pitches, to like a 79% contact rate right now. There's no way that he's going to clear 5.5 strikeouts.
Yeah. The other game that I'm looking at too, and I want to get your take on it, HB, is the Nats taking on the Rockies. I kind of like the Rockies money line, minus 136, laying 36 cents in this spot. It's at Coors Field in Colorado. Nats and Rockies closing out their series. It's at like 3 p.m. Eastern time. They split the first 2 games. On the mound for the Nats, 6.75 ERA, 3.44 xFIP, and the Rockies have Antonio Senzatella on the bump, 3.66 ERA. And through his first 4 starts, the Rockies are 3-1 behind him. He pitches better at Coors than he does on the road. The Rockies are also 5-0 in Senzatella's last 5 starts against a team with a losing record. The Colorado has a bigger advantage in hitter rating in this game, plus 2.84, and pitch type rating at plus 5.46. So I'm backing the home favorites in this spot, laying 36 cents. How do you feel about it behind Senzatella?
I kind of like that pick. I really do. I think that the Rockies, I think that batting order really is starting to shape up nicely. I love Connor Joe at the leadoff spot there. When you're throwing in, Charlie Blackmon's batting second, but then you've got that that Grichuk, Crone, Ryan McMahon, 3, 4, 5 in the order. I'm definitely in on that. I think Senzatella, and here's what you're going to see. You're going to see Senzatella pitching around Juan Soto. You're going to see him pitching around Josh Bell. And then what's the rest of that Nationals lineup there? It's trash. It's absolute trash.
Yeah.
It's almost embarrassing. It's not Cincinnati embarrassing, but it's still pretty embarrassing nonetheless.
Lauren, I'll add a quick.
Totally. You're on a nerfy.
Yeah, I'm going to back this again, the nerfy at Coors Field, the no runs. And Howard, this is interesting because there is a perception about runs being scored in the first inning, especially in Colorado. Now, this year, runs being scored in the first inning has only happened 8 of 14 times, so it's 8 and 6. Yesterday, no runs were scored. I'm going to back it again based off of Senzatella against Washington, who won't score. Little bit of concern, as you mentioned, about the Rockies lineup against Aaron Sanchez. He's got a high ERA, but he's only made 2 starts. Both of them against San Francisco this year. Got through the first inning unscathed in one, got touched up in the other. I think it's a little bit of a different situation. The Rockies do not have the same lineup that San Francisco has, despite the fact that they're in Coors Field. I think they get through another first inning scoreless here, and I'm going to play a nerfy at plus money here once again.
I think I might kind of sprinkle that on there. I kind of like it. You know, Aaron Sanchez, we forget. Aaron Sanchez, when he was coming up in that Blue Jays organization, really rock solid pitcher, really great stuff. And, you know, injuries were just the big key for him. So, you know, listen, I don't hate that pick. And you know, you're dropping enough data here for me to kind of, you know, take a look at it. But you know, your fees and nerfies, I'll leave those to you guys. I'll still stay with the straight bets.
Yeah. Howard, do you have any other bets before we let you go on today's card?
You know what? I like the under 7 runs for the Mariners-Rays game today. I think that you've got a really nice pitching matchup there. I think that's going to be kind of a soft one. But yeah, as far as like filling out my best bets today, so far I've got locked in the Marlins money line. I do have Rays-Mariners. I actually kind of like that under 7 runs for San Francisco against St. Louis, right? I think Logan Webb can really neutralize that St. Louis lineup, and you know, the geriatric lineup that the Giants continue to put out there on a regular basis. I can't get in on that. So under 7 runs for San Francisco, St. Louis as well.
I like it. HB, Howard Bender, thank you so much for coming on today. I'm sure we're going to be talking to you quite a bit throughout the playoffs and throughout the MLB season. We so appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure to join you guys. Always.
Thanks, Ben.
See you soon. Hey, HB, head of content for Fantasy Alarm and host of the Ante Up podcast on Sirius XM. Some NBA. Obviously, no games on tonight at this point. We're looking to Friday. We have 2 games. 76ers take Mavs and on the Suns. So I don't have any official bets at this point. I'm obviously on the show again tomorrow, and we'll be giving out some of my bets for these 2 games. Let's just talk about the 76ers and Heat for a second. The Heat took a massive 2-0 lead over the Sixers. No Embiid. Doc Rivers sounded pessimistic in his press conference that he's probably not going to be back for game 3. We don't know about game 4. And James Harden at this point is looking like a shell of his former self. And he wants a massive contract this offseason. Do the Sixers at this point have a chance without Joel Embiid in their lineup?
No. Miami's defense is too good. And we're not saying that enough, right? We're not saying, and I said it throughout the entire Hawks series, that Miami's defense is too good. And everyone was focusing on, at least here where we are, Lauren, in Atlanta, focusing on the Hawks missing shots and Trey not getting his. And guys, this is all Miami's defense. And even to a certain extent, I don't know. I think the series will be more competitive. But when I watch Miami's defense play, I know that they are good enough to be in the Eastern Conference Finals and maybe even take out the Milwaukee Bucks, who I think win the East, because their defense is just so complete. Their switchers are flawless. They absolutely move quickly to the ball. They know how to swarm people quickly, and they are just very fundamentally sound. And I watch this team, and even with Joel Embiid, I still think Miami is winning the first 2 games in this series. Maybe they're closer. Maybe that the Sixers have a lead later on in the game. But Miami's defense just knows how to clamp down at every crucial moment, and they are the best, most well-coached team in the league right now with Eric Spoelstra.
Yeah, I totally. Almost a horrible freeze frame on my face, by the way. You hate to see it. Yeah, no, I look at the Sixers, and they definitely need more defense from their centers at this point. They need small enough, but also not hitting shots. What's the answer? Because they're not getting defense from their center. So you go to a smaller lineup, but guess what? They're not hitting shots. Like Harden ain't giving you 5 and 15 at this point. They have to change their defense to get the Heat off balance, and the Heat defense is just really good, and their offense is flowing. You look at Tyler Hero; he won the 6th Man of the Year award, and you saw why in Game 1 when he put up what was it, like 26 points. Like they ain't slowing the Heat down at this point, especially without a guy like Embiid. Let's move on to the Mavs Suns. Chris Paul is vegan. If it works for him, should we all try to go vegan? This dude's about to turn 37, and he looks like he's 25 at this point,
Yeah, I'm not going vegan. Sorry. It's just
I like cheese too much, let's be honest.
Forget cheese. I just want a steak. Like, is that enough? Can I just eat raw meat at some point? If it was socially acceptable to eat raw meat, I would do it. Like, honestly, you just don't even need to cook it. Just slap it on a plate. I'm like a dog. Just dump it in a bowl. I'll stick my face in it. So, we're not going vegan. But what we are going to say is how much better the Suns are than the Mavs. And what has been exposed here for Dallas, for as good as their defense is that their offense is completely ineffective other than Luka Doncic. They just don't have any secondary scoring that can match up. And from that standpoint, they don't have the horses in the barn to be able to keep up with Phoenix. The only way the Mavs can win games is to limit Phoenix to about 105 points or less in a given game, because they don't have the offense to stay in the 110, 115 range. They just don't have the secondary scoring. Phoenix's defense isn't anywhere as good as Dallas, but it's certainly good enough to keep Dallas into that 100, 105 range. They don't need to do much more than that, given how much they can score.
At this point, I might go vegan because I'm about to be 30 and I want to look like I'm 25 still. Dude, like literally his birthday is tomorrow. He's turning 37 and he's freaking balling out there. Like poor Luka, putting up 80 points in 2 games, shooting 54% from the floor. That's not enough for the Mavs. Like you look at the rest of the starting 5 through 2 games, they only put up 70 points. Luka outscored the rest of his starting 5 by 10 points, and the rest of the starting 5 is only shooting 41% from the field. Luka's outscoring the rest of his right now. Suns at this point might be the most complete team in the NBA postseason. Do they sweep the Mavs, or does home court give Dallas a little extra energy at this point?
I think Dallas might get 1. That's about it. Again, Phoenix
Gentlemen
may start
sweep.
they might in Game 3. They might let their foot off the gas pedal a little bit and think they can coast. And Dallas will be home. They'll have a little bit extra energy and be able to squeak out 1. But listen, Dallas is not going to win a game that goes over the total. They're only going to win games that go under the total. If the game goes over, it's all Phoenix. There's just no way that a game going over the total is going to be won by Dallas. I don't know how or where they're going to get the scoring from.
Yeah, no, totally agree with you. We're going to break that all down tomorrow, obviously, on Let's Bet It right here at 10 a.m. Eastern time. Quick plug. Okay, before we get into our best bets of the day, let's head to the Pickswise.com website. Zeno, who do we got for our 3-star play of the day? Let's win us some money.
Well, by the way, another winning night for me in the NBA. But 3-star plays in the NHL tonight. There are 2 of them up on the site. 1 in the Capitals-Panthers game. Actually, 2 of them in the Capitals-Panthers game. Both of them from Tyler Mortimer, who has 2 different plays for his 3-star play of the day on the Pickswise website for the NHL playoffs.
Head to Pickswise.com. Read why we love the NHL playoffs. Speaking of, I'm going back to the guys with my Rangers 3-way money line pick at plus 105. It lost the other night, but you know what? If you got to lose a bet, you might as well do it in triple overtime. That's all I got to say. The Pens lost their goalie in one of their forwards during Game 1. They're already without Tristan Jarry. Casey Smith left the game with a lower body injury. Louis Domingue probably is going to be in between the pipes against tonight. The Rangers scored a goal late in that game that was taken back. It should have been taken back. It was whatever. The Rangers right now are 17th in the league. The Pens are 11th in the league offensively. Both teams kind of middle of the pack. The difference is the Rangers are 2nd in the league in goals against, and a lot of that is because Igor Shesterkin between the pipes. He made a franchise record 79 saves in that game. Like Zeno said, it should have been 80, and that would have been the difference in the game. But you know what? He can't do it all. He can't do it all. Pens basically played the best game that they can play. They're going to want to even up the series tonight. They're now missing Ricardo and Smith, and Tristan Jarry is still out with the broken foot. So at this point, I trust in the Rangers Rangers at home at MSG on home ice more than I trust the Pens without one of their top forwards, without both their starting goalie and their backup. I think this game is going to be a little bit different of a result. I like the Rangers three-way money line, and I like it at plus money, plus 105. This game ain't going to overtime today. They're going to want to do everything they can to not have to play 2 straight games in the same night. So I like it. Rangers three-way money line, plus 105. Who you got for your best bet of the day?
Well, I'm going to stick with my Nerfies. Over in the AL, the Minnesota Twins and the Baltimore Orioles under a half run in the first inning at just minus 105. Chris Archer on the bump for the Minnesota Twins, a good pitcher, a high strikeout pitcher against an Orioles team that is bottom 5 in baseball in first inning run scored percentage. Now, for the Orioles on the mound is Spencer Watkins. He has a great 2.55 ERA. What is nuts about this is that he has given up a first inning run in all 4 of his starts this year, but only managed to have a 2.55 ERA. I'm hoping this is the game that finally snaps the streak. The Minnesota Twins only scoring a first inning run in a third of their road games this year. They've been shut out in the first inning the last 3 games while they were at home, so going to play the under. First inning, half run here with the Minnesota Twins and the Baltimore Orioles.
Fun doing shows with you. I feel like it flies by. Time flies when you're having fun, I think is what they say, right?
That's right. I mean,
like
listen, I'm pretty much the most fun there is. Ask around.
He's the most fun in the city of ATL, guys. That's all we're saying now. Okay, that's it for us today. Find us on the Pickswise YouTube channel. Go to Pickswise.com. Follow us on Twitter. For Mark Zinno, I'm Lauren Jabara. Best of luck tonight, guys. We'll see you again tomorrow. A lot of MLB, a lot of NBA, a lot of NHL coming back at you tomorrow. That's it. Don't miss this too much. Let's get it. Let's bet it.